Good morning, everybody. How are we doing today? Thanks for joining us. Sorry for a slight delay here. We're going to let folks get settled in. Bassam, how are we doing today?
Good. It's always a little bit of technical difficulty, but we're always it's always fun. If anybody can message in that they can hear us properly,
yes,
if we're coming in loud and clear.
If there are any issues, please let us know. Look, we're going to let everyone get settled in. I hope everyone is having a good afternoon. Thumbs up. We love it. We love it. All right. Awesome. Well, look, we're going to kind of jump in. I know folks are going to kind of be trickling in as we go. I want to thank everybody for taking the time today to talk about AI again. It's a huge topic of conversation, of interest for everybody.
Top of the hype cycle.
Top of the hype cycle for sure. Just some housekeeping notes. We're going to kind of go through some thoughts here we have over the next 30 minutes. Please pop your questions in.
Absolutely.
We have some polls we're going to throw up too. Polls are always great. And you don't be shy to ask questions. And if you have to jump early or you have someone that is interested, this will be available to you afterwards in a recording.
Absolutely.
So Bassam, as we get started, maybe give us a little bit of background on your story, on Brick, and then we'll kind of hop into the meat here.
So I think a lot of people know my story. It's now over 2 decades in construction tech. The idea here was, this is my Act 3. And so Act 1 was with construction accounting software company. Act 2 was with a very large cloud project management company. And Act 3 is an AI automation company called Brick, which is exciting, fun, interesting. Always a challenge to bring something new to market, but we're really excited about it. And, most people don't know this. Ellis is an original Brickster.
That's right. I mean, if we go to the next slide, so we've been telling this story since 2018. It's been something that I would say we were kind of early to this conversation.
Absolutely.
And I think
almost too early,
but not too early. And I think really the resurrection of the AI topic was kind of born out of ChatGPT, OpenAI. Everyone kind of like caught on to that. And there's a lot of other categories underneath. I mean, everyone thinks of ChatGPT as AI, and it certainly is, but it's a much broader category than just ChatGPT.
Yeah, I think when you look at when you look at AI as it's described, AI is a term just like a car. It's the idea that artificial intelligence as a whole has multiple categories below it. One of that is generative. They call it generative text creation, ChatGPT. What it does is it uses all the data in the world to paraphrase responses to somebody and answer a question. That's one form of artificial intelligence. It gets smarter as it learns more, which is great. That's generative. The other side of the coin is something called something called automation. And automation is intelligent automation. This is generative automation. The idea that ultimately we can automate processes that remove humans out of the loop where necessary, so that these little computer programs called bots can do work on behalf of a human being. That's really kind of core of what Brick is. And then there's a third pillar, which we call predictive.
Yeah.
And predictive is the ability to use either past history or external influences to come up with predictive models. And those predictive models generally are in our industry are built around how much revenue are you going to make? What's your headcount requirements over time? How much fee are you going to make? The big questions that, it reveals.
100%. And, really today when we're talking about AI, I mean, if we go to the next slide, automation is really kind of the big key here. And this is this is a big wave of the next transformation that's happening digitally, right?
Yeah, we talk about digital transformation in construction quite aggressively. And the idea here is that, I hate the term that construction is slow to pick up new tech, because it's not. It's that technology doesn't understand construction. Construction is very unique. It's an industry that's, as old as time, essentially. It builds everything that we're in, everything that we drive in, or drive on, all highways, all buildings, your homes. Construction is everything that you kind of interact with in your environment. Why people think this is an easy technology solve, and like I've dedicated my career to it. I've seen many people come in from other industries, healthcare, manufacturing, go, oh, this construction thing's got to be easy, hard hats and swinging a hammer. It's just not true. The digital transformation waves that have happened in construction started really in the 90s where we digitized drawings.
Yep.
And the Autodesk really led that, taking things off of pen and paper and putting it into a digital file. Ultimately, that was a single digital file where we printed it and still shipped literal drawings out.
Paper, yes.
Yeah. Ultimately, Procore comes along, lesser extent, PlanGrid in the tens, and we get collaboration sites.
Yep.
Essentially, same amount of work, you're just logging in to one portal.
Right.
And with Brick, this is the first generation of software that is being trained to use other software packages. The ultimate point here is that these AI bots that are running your workflows are really what's driving this kind of productivity wave.
Yeah. And man, just kind of click through for us. Yeah. I mean, the first wave came with those siloed workflows, Autodesk. It was the introduction of the computer, right? That
Basically.
Second wave came when, it was the introduction of the cloud.
Yeah.
And those are the two like big technologies that really, kind of introduced and beckoned this happened. This next wave of digitization that we're seeing now, the technology driving that is AI.
100%. And that's such a great way to put it, because ultimately the PC was prohibitively expensive
100%.
until the time came where somebody could buy one PC per designer.
Right.
And that's how it became very siloed. And then you have the cloud, and all of a sudden cross platform computing is cheap. It's like pennies, AWS, Google. Now AI is becoming affordable, because if you
100%.
talked about automation 10 years ago, this was the exclusive role of IBM or PwC, these massive companies. So now that's a great point.
You don't, and to get involved in AI, you don't have to go out and purchase microchips and developers and build this army out. You literally can log into a browser. It's crazy.
Exactly
it's crazy. So that's when we think about Brick kind of leading that new wave of digital transformation. Go to the next slide for us. We're talking about AI a lot. When we talk about AI, we're really in a lot of ways talking about automation primarily.
Yeah, AI, like I said earlier, AI is just too much of an umbrella term to even use.
Right.
First of all, AI is linked to machine learning. And the way AI works, and I think it's a dirty little secret about AI, is that you need dozens, hundreds, thousands of people.
Yes.
To teach the machine
100%.
to act like a human. That's what we did for the first 2 years while we were in stealth mode, 2018 to 2020. We're teaching these machines workflows. Like, who knew that we could teach a machine how to enter a change order in Timberline, 35-year-old accounting system?
Right.
But we did. That was fun and exciting, and wowed a lot of people. But that's what we were doing. So AI, if you're at a dinner party and you never want to challenge anybody and somebody's talking about ChatGPT, tell them AI is an umbrella term for a much larger story. And that larger story really boils down to the fact is we have the technology to teach machines to act like humans. That's it. Yeah. And that's what's really exciting.
100%. And you look at, ChatGPT, they had 50,000 programmers that were identifying words and tagging them and putting them together. And when you think about today, processing an invoice, 100%. We've had to train these models how to recognize.
Because there's no standardization in construction,
no.
Right? So Ferguson's going to send you an invoice and it's going to look one way. Iron Mountain's going to send you another invoice. It's going to look a different way. There's so much variability. And, that's why it's not just like a weekend job to join construction. There are software companies. Brick is the first software construction company that is doing this.
Yeah.
And that's exciting and scary at the same time. But it's pretty exciting. There are other companies that are doing this for healthcare, for instance.
Sure.
They're focused on the uniqueness of their workflows, their business. We are focused on the uniqueness of our workflows. If you talk to a construction company and you ask, where is the risk at your company? Think about, where is the risk?
Mm-hmm.
The risk is everywhere. There's not one place.
Right.
You can pinpoint it at any moment. Starting a project a week late in your accounting system results in misallocated transactions. Misallocated transactions result in invoices not being appropriately routed, results in bills being wrong, results in wrong forecasts, results in fee erosion. Like, that is an incredible chain from what you think is just a simple data entry task all the way down to fee erosion. That's kind of that value chain we talked about.
100%. And so, we're kind of covered high level what, and if you go to the Brick website, there's a ton of other videos and content we've recorded talking about the details of AI. How do you apply it? And in particular, automation. So there's kind of, today was 3 ways that it can change the business. And here's 3 ways we want you to think about applying it. So Let's go to the next slide.
Yeah, and let's describe automation a little bit
First, yeah.
Yeah, let's describe it first. And I think it's good to like you zoom in on that slide and talk through. There's two levels of automation. If anybody owns a Tesla or any of the new cars that have self-driving autopilot, that's the idea that something can happen without a human at the loop. Now, the car drives itself. That is autopilot. And that's, when you talk about, I love the term Brick's automation crew. On one side of the coin is these bots that work 24/7, never have COVID, never take a sick day. All magically, like the elves in the shoe shop, there you've got hundreds of employees doing all of this stuff. Now, what does autopilot mean? It means it's unsupervised automations. It means that, having an approved invoice typed into your accounting system, you don't need a human to do that anymore. That's when you run Brick. So that's autopilot.
Yep.
It's unsupervised. It just does the work on your behalf.
Right.
On the other side of the coin is copilot automations. What is a copilot automation? Think about basic automation around how do you automate project forecasting? How do you automate project forecasting? People are like, well, can't the machine predict what the project's going to cost? Unfortunately, not yet. Like you need a human, a project manager, PX to go out there and tell
human in the loop.
Absolutely. But what it can eliminate is bad data. It can eliminate late data. It can eliminate the rigmaroles of macros, Control-C, Control-V, emails, alerts. All of that comes in and boils up the problem stuff at the top. Here are your 3 cost codes that look like they're going to be overspent. Here are 3 cost codes that are active that haven't incurred any costs. Is everything properly allocated? Why is your invoice so late? Allocating those anomalies. Co-piloting is a coach, somebody on the sidelines poking you and doing the work that you don't want to do anymore. Like I tell the people, nobody's waking up one morning and saying, God, I wish I was an accounting clerk at a construction company. That there's just not enough bodies in seat to do the work needed. As volumes go up, the industry has tripled, I think, since I started in this industry. You know what hasn't tripled? The amount of people that work in construction. So the workload is tripled. Your workload is tripled.
The amount of invoices, your contract values.
Everything's tripled.
Everything's tripled.
Trillions of dollars more.
100%.
Still the same bodies. And you know what? I'm one of those same bodies. It's always the same. But
and the thing about the bots, I mean, we call these are basically these bots, right? And it's like little computer programs. In fact, we have a client that calls them. They have a bot. They call it Bob. They've anthropomorphized it, right? And Bob does all of this work. And some of the things that these bots can do are just very repetitive, right? They don't make mistakes. They execute it flawlessly. The co-piloting thing is really where it's interesting because these bots become more intelligent over time.
That's right.
And they learn how to do a workflow. And they learn, for example, it's like, to your point where it's like nudging the user which decision to make at the right time.
Yeah, and I'll give you a very construction example. You do an estimate in the estimating department, and everybody on this call knows this, at a different level of detail than we budget in our projects. So you might have 100 line items in estimating that rolls up into 2 cost codes, cost types in your accounting budget or your project management budget. The mystifying thing to do, since the 90s is how do you map estimating codes to cost codes and how do you not screw that up? How do you not forget to budget concrete or misalign these budgets? And especially when humans are changing buyout amounts and negotiating on their own front and getting these other things done, how do you keep that chaos to be automated? And the idea here is that, when you do an estimate to budget automation, the first 2 months, it's like you hired, your son or daughter that's fresh out of college. They don't know anything about the cost codes. It's learning what is out there and is documented. So 65% of those estimate items line up with the right cost codes in the first couple months of that bot, just like an employee. And you have to check that bot's work.
100%.
And then you go, oh no, Bob, or whomever, electronic overlord. These are wrong and these are misallocated. And what the nice thing about AI becoming more affordable is that processing power then stores the change so you don't have to tell it again.
Interesting, yeah.
That's the point, right?
Interesting. So there's 3 dimensions where we can apply this. This is kind of what we're going to get to here. So let's go to the next slide, Amanda. So If we could make that a little bigger. Yeah. So, we think about departmental automation, something that's repetitive within your team that can be automated.
I mean, not selfishly or maybe selfishly for Brick, we always say the first department that needs automation is the office of the CFO, office of VP finance. Reason why is because they've been abandoned with 40-year technology.
True.
The same accounting system. It's like when you walk in and somebody's running some of these old accounting systems, it does look like you've walked in a time machine.
Yes.
Like you were expecting like a CRT monitor. Remember when the monitors were really big?
Right.
And there's like this little green box or gray box that you're entering data into. And we've just thrown bodies at the problem, right? And it's like Jenny or Mikey, that's the person that does invoices, and whoever on the other side is doing payroll clerk work. And ultimately during COVID, a lot of people left the industry and we just don't have bodies.
And people are retiring.
The aging out of the industry. And, I call it the rub your tummy, pat your head model, where those people know where the bodies are buried. It was like, you can't use your accounting system on Thursdays at 3 p.m. because there's a backup happening, or, those stories.
Right.
So the office of the CFO is usually the first department we automate. And the idea here is that 1 to 2 person years, 1 to 2 headcount, just so you don't have to work 80 hours a day. Nobody's getting fired. It's so you don't work 80 hours a week. That work needs to be replaced.
Yes.
And what the bots are good for at the beginning, while they're learning, is if this, then that, basic logic transactions. I will log into Procore, and if there is a approved change order from the owner, I'm going to log into Spectrum and type that in. This is not about integration. I'll tell you why in a sec. It's not about fixing this with an API.
Right.
It's because they speak construction ease in the field, and we speak accounting ease in the office.
Right.
And, there are different validations. Procore allows you to enter in the same cost code and schedule of values. And this is very esoteric, but the same cost code and the schedule of values on a subcontract. You can't do that in most accounting systems. So you have to summarize it. You have to mash it up. You have to look at retainage. It's not like, oh, I'm going to buy this magic connector and it's going to move data back and forth.
Right.
It's not about the connector. It's about eliminating that extra work. It's a process problem. So at first we were like, let's find the processes like budget setup, like, an award process where a project number gets taken out. Let's find the processes where one of our clients said they put on their headphones and turn off their brain for 8 hours.
Yeah.
Find those processes and knock them out.
Setting up an employee, onboarding, offboarding employee. There's maybe even just getting, information from a paper invoice and putting it into an accounting system.
That's a great example. So, before Brick, one of our clients was going through their process, and your eyes are like rolling back in your head, what they used to have to go through, which was get an email from a vendor, scan it or download it, email it to who they thought the project manager was, wait for a reply, then print it, then get the CFO to sign it, then get somebody to cost code it, then get somebody to enter it. And you think about all of that. Yes, we're going to talk about the next big win here, but the departmental automations, go into an office right after this call and whiteboard all the work. You don't feel guilty about it. It's not job security. It's like, it's mental sanity.
Right.
All the work you don't want to do anymore, and then automate that away.
Yeah. Think about that in terms of what the world that you control. Now, here's the next domain. And that is, if you want to go to the next slide, this is thinking of a corporate automation. Yeah. So once that you have a piece of information in one department, and that piece of information has to be transferred to another department.
Yes.
This is where we see another big use for AI.
Okay. And so the first big win, just to summarize the departmental model, is that you start with one.
Yes.
You start with one automation. You start small, and you start within a controlled environment like the accounting department, where magically your job just got better.
Right.
Now, let's say you're your own best reference. I'm the CFO. I've eliminated, I've been able to take down one of my job postings that's been open for 3 years, the AP clerk or the payroll clerk or the accounting manager or project accountant. We can move that. Then you go in as CFO or president in some cases and walk into a room and start talking to operations and estimating and business development. Why do we do that? We do that because, and you've heard this joke before, construction is the worst relay team on the planet. As soon as that baton needs to be passed, a lot of things break.
Right.
Because they're speaking different languages. They're running different systems. I mean, back in the day, in the 90s, early 2000s, we had this theory, everything will work great as long as you buy all your software from one company.
Yeah.
Right. And even that is broken now.
Yes.
You know, because acquisitions and all this other stuff. So if the first big change in your life is, I'm going to do less work in my department, the first big AI automation change that's going to happen is I'm going to do more knowledge work and less double data entry and annoying tasks and, you know, hunting and pecking for data and printing and arguing and meeting and talking in circles and only addressing problems where the loudest voice, we all know that's true, comes in. If that's my first day, day 2 at a company is cross-departmental automations. Cross-departmental automations is turning an estimate into an accounting budget.
Yeah.
And that accounting budget turning it into a project management budget without a human having to yell, scream, upload, download, CSV, reformat, all of that happen. That's when you get to that point. A lot of people, by the way, stop at this point. And we'll talk about the third big pillar of change. But when you get to the point that the relay race is really won, where accounting and estimating and project management, here's a great idea. You all have the same subcontract values.
Right.
You all have the same paperwork.
Yeah.
You have the same budget amount. There is no lag. You go from monthly closeouts to in real time. We call that peace and harmony, right? Like all of a sudden, those contentious owner meeting, forecast meetings, whatever you call your weekly costs or monthly cost meetings are gone. That you stop arguing about the work. And there was a great survey we did with several CFOs, and we asked, know thyself. How many hours a day are you really working on knowledge work versus searching, arguing, meeting? 6 hours a day on average pre-brick of non-value add
hunting
work.
gathering
Hunting
as one of our customers calls it. Yeah, man, throw up we have a poll. There's two things. We have 2 polls. One is how familiar are you with AI? The second one is how automated is the business? Really curious to hear those responses.
Absolutely.
You know, I think that, you know, I spoke to an owner yesterday of a mechanical subcontractor, and he was, look, I'm pushing, you know, we used to close the month 3 weeks into the next period.
You're right.
And now I'm pushing my team. We're at 2 weeks. He goes, I'm pushing him now for a week. And like, that's a Herculean. That's not an easy thing to do.
Just wait till you tell them you should be doing a continuous.
That's exactly what I said, Joe. I said, you should be telling everybody that you should do it every day, right?
Yeah, you should be closing your books every
single day, right?
There's this great workflow, I'll call it, that I did when I was at CMIC, and it was all about these job cost transactions that the CFO and controller would write to correct all the mistakes that they did throughout the month.
Right.
And it was like this monstrous, it's a huge company, so I won't give them the name, but it's this monstrous spreadsheet, like tens of thousands of records.
Yeah.
And it was like for everything, intercompany transactions and intercompany reconciliation, cross-country revenue. And it would take them 4 weeks.
Right.
Like it was 4 weeks. And nobody knows how much fee they made that month.
Right.
Like nobody knows.
Yeah. It's
like
30 days. Everything's 30, 60 days old there.
Yeah. So so, you know, we're all here. We're all going to crawl, walk, run together, right? So we're going to look at a department, usually the office of the CFO, the accounting department. We're going to do an individual departmental win. That individual departmental win is fundamentally only going to provide you an ROI or return on investment. I know everybody hates that term, but a return around people hours. That's really what's going to happen, right? You're not going to do massive risk reduction, but it's a good start.
Yes.
It's also the cheapest way to start.
Yeah.
Then you go to cross corporate. You know what you get with cross corporate? You get the world opens up. You go from 200 grand return in a year to sometimes infinity because you're planning better and you're stopping fee erosion.
Yeah.
Think about what you've done. First, you've made your employees happier because they're not working 7 days a week. The data is cleaner, the hygiene is better, and you're saving a bunch of time. So magically, everything in accounting just got better.
Yeah.
We call it robotic accounting. There's a great article I always recommend. It's called The Robots Are Coming for Phil in Accounting in the New York Times.
Yeah.
It's the idea that you can have this like kind of accounting department. We used to call it service bureau, if anybody's old on this phone, where they used to just throw bodies at it when salaries were cheaper. But then you wake up one morning and you're planning better because you're doing these cross-corporate workflows. So you're doing a workflow like, I'm talking to my BD. They're saying, this is the potential project list that we can do. We're using predictive, what we call time travel, to spread those dollars, the general conditions requirement, the self-performed work across that, which produces potential headcount requirements.
Yeah.
So now I got revenue, fee, or volume, fee, and headcount requirements from the BD person doing the work they always do anyway.
Right.
My WIP is automated, so it's automatically being added to that log, if you want to call it that. And it's spreading it out over a month for real backlog, for my true backlog burn-off. It takes, I will sit and watch a CFO and a VP ops do that for months.
Yeah.
This is now just happens.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And now you say, we didn't win that project. Months could go by the time you wipe out that project. But now we're saying that also is tracked in real time. Or you did win that project. Now that's an actualized headcount. Now you're planning better. If you win a job and you don't have the general conditions to manage that job or the self-performed labor, shame on you. You're going to be late. You're going to lose fee.
Yes.
And that's the ultimate point, is that once you do cross-corporate, cross-departmental, highbrow way of saying it, multi-actor, multi-departmental,
right.
like multiple people, workflows.
It's how do you translate the language between two teams within the same company?
Yeah, and the work.
Yes, and the workflow. That's why the API doesn't get you there, because it's not a connection issue. It's a workflow issue. It's
like the API, for anybody that's technical, I call it API is an application programming interface. It's meant to be a language that can connect to machines. It's great. It's like saying, though, a nail can build a house. It doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
But the point is, you need to employ this type of technology in order to utilize an API to make it functioning, because otherwise you're just doing the same amount of work.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so we're kind of getting up on time here. Let's just one department.
Right.
Multi-departmental. How does this apply to partners, customers, banks? The next one is, and if Amanda, we could go to the next slide and make it a little bigger for us, is that intercompany automation.
Yeah, and that would be the third side. The intercompany automation is what really changes the game for, I think, a lot of companies.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of counterparties in construction. There's your insurance company, your bonding company, your bank, your owner. So here's the most basic intercompany automation. And I won't mention the contractor's name, but I can mention some of their clients. Companies that are as large as like an Amazon or a Facebook mandate a project management system on their side of the firewall that says, you GC, you must enter data into your own PM system. We don't care, but also into ours. And that's part of your general conditions. As a subcontractor, it's certainly an experience when they say you have to enter your data into a billing system like Textura or GC Pay, where a subcontractor is forced to use a third-party system. A third-party system is a system that our client, the sub or the GC, doesn't own. It's one that's being mandated to be updated.
Yeah.
So famous one is, third-party project management system, PM Web, and you're using Procore
or
whatever that cross function is. We have clients that mandate Brick on all those projects so that Brick becomes a project engineer taking RFIs in real time and putting them into the third-party system. Or more importantly, taking invoices from a subcontractor's accounting system or our own AR automation platform and forcing it into Textura or GC Pay so you don't have to do that extra work.
Yeah.
When you do that, you bring not just peace and harmony to one department, not just peace and harmony to your company, you bring it to all construction.
Yeah.
Because it becomes like a true supply chain management tool.
Yes.
It becomes this assembly line approach. It becomes like what Henry Ford wanted to bring to cars. Cars were handmade without any automation prior to Henry Ford. There were tons of car companies. The best one was the one that fully automated.
Yeah.
By the way, that's the one that lasted.
100%. And really this comes down to becoming kind of the, we call it like the intelligent enterprise.
Yep.
And so like, as you start to knock off some of these like departmental workflows and some of these interdepartmental, suddenly you also start to collect more accurate information.
Yeah.
Your data becomes more accurate. The information flows more quickly to the right person.
Right person, right time.
And some of these other AI technologies we talked about, such as predictive analytics and even generative automation. Imagine there's a chat bot where you could ask questions
about the project.
Yeah. Right. And that's really what this is building to, and that creates better relationships with your vendors, with your suppliers, with your customers, with your 100%. Bankers. I mean, how many times we speak to we work with a lot of CPAs as well, where it's like, I can't get my customer to give me a whip, but once a quarter.
Right.
I mean, that's
or once a year.
Or once a year sometimes, right? Yeah. That's not all of a sudden lowering your interest rate on borrowing.
We have clients that have better bonding rates because of this level of automation reporting. The nice thing about the cleaner data, the faster data, is that the machine learning for predictive is that much better.
Yes.
So once you've gone between an estimating department and the job operations department, the accounting department are all actually on the same page.
Right.
When they're all actually on the same page and that data is accurate, not an argument, accounting got it wrong, ops, estimating, then you can train your machine to be smarter.
Right.
And we can train it for you.
Yeah, that's hard to do if,
it's garbage in, garbage
you never close your books in your accounting system or something.
Exactly.
So anyway, those are kind of, 3 core ways. If go away today, go to a whiteboard, like you said, look at what can I automate in a department.
Save time in your department, save time across departments, and then save time across companies. If you're not thinking about this, I can list I'm a car fanatic, as you know. I can list the car companies that existed pre-Henry Ford that do not exist now because automation put them out of business. And I hate to be that kind of doom and gloom sayer, but you don't automate, you die at this point.
100%. And one thing we also want to talk about, for those that may be familiar with Brick, if you could go to the next slide and make it a little bigger for us.
This is a big announcement. Big announcement.
We talked about projects. We talked about automating some of the forecasting side of things and your cash flow, your AR and your AP. There's another big category that is rife for information. Information.
Here's a story.
Okay.
Before this is a big announcement. Some people are dropping off because we're at 30 minutes. But my first implementation gig in construction tech was implementing payrolls.
Yeah.
And that was crazy and hard to do. And what we're introducing today is, and you can go to the next slide, is the next generation of smart bots. We've gone across spend. We've gone across project management, AP, AR, and forecasting. We're now introducing the people module. The people module has a co-pilot AI-based time tracking and attendance tool. It tracks, creates automations around payroll, OSHA reporting, certified payroll, union reporting. It also will do automations around onboarding and offboarding, whether you're union or non-union. This is going to transform a department that I know and love as the people department or the payroll department of every construction company. People right now are your number one resource. Getting accurate time, equipment time sheets, productivity from the field is, again, a legacy way of doing it. With our time tracking tool, for the first time ever, there is 90% autopilot, meaning timesheets from the field will be automatically entered into your payroll system of choice, into your payroll provider of choice. It will also automatically update project forecasts with productivity rates based on units complete or hours worked, and automatically update your general conditions monitoring in real time as that information is entered. This is huge. Amazing. And the 10% co-piloted function will tell your folks in the field where they should be allocating time and whether or not it looks inaccurate. We're also doing great things with fraud detection and multi sign-in. So the people, it's early. We have a few clients on beta. The people module is open for business. Really excited about that.
Yeah, no, it's huge. And you talk about, a critical departmental workflow. There's a lot of time just spent doing things that aren't really that productive. So that's awesome. That's great. Super exciting. Happy to kind of fill folks in if you want to learn more and kind of see how it works and learn how to get started with it. We'd be happy to kind of give you some insight on that. Awesome. We can do maybe a couple minutes for questions. We ran over. Thanks everyone for those that have stuck around for taking a few more minutes. One more poll as you think of your questions. After today, how ready do we feel that how ready are we for digital transformation? We say digital transformation, really what we're talking about is bringing in automation into some of these
bringing
departments.
Peace and harmony all the way to
peace and harmony into construction.
Yeah, exactly.
We love that. One question we get all the time, Bassem, is, okay, I use one of those Stone Age accounting systems.
Sure.
Can I use automation with old technology, like a foundation?
Yeah, I love Foundation. I mean, the Foundation has thousands of clients. It works every time, owned by a great company. And yeah, if you're not automating Foundation, you're going to be challenged training a 22-year-old on how to use Foundation. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
So you go from Instagram to, Stone tablets. So the idea here is that you want to automate as much as you can in that accounting system.
Right.
Same goes with any kind of project management system you might buy.
Yeah. And that's the other thing, we hear is like, really what your accounting system, it's great for debits and credits. And, your accounting system is probably better than you think it is.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
And you don't need to switch it.
Right. You don't, in terms of like what it's really built to do.
Yeah. It does GL. It does general ledger with a sub ledger of job costs and sometimes a payroll sub ledger.
Yeah.
APAR sub ledgers, but they are recording things that they're not workflow tools.
Right.
They're recording things that have happened elsewhere in the past.
100%.
That's when it's accounting for things that have happened elsewhere in the past. That's why accounting isn't built as a workflow.
100%. Okay. I got a couple questions here.
Sure.
I'm just going to pull this up here. I'm going to skip a couple of these because I'm biased.
You can't enter in your own poll.
Okay. Yeah. What's the roadmap of the best, most straightforward system to automate to get an early win?
There's two wins for me. WIP, automating your WIP. That's a big win. WIP with revenue forecast. That's a single department win for accounting. A lot of folks start there. We have clients that do that in, a month. And then the next one that actually, I think in my mind, provides the biggest impact really at this point is your project monthly forecast to WIP. Yeah. That's across departmental. It's, if you're the accounting person, the CFO, it might be a scary conversation with ops, but ultimately if they're on Excel or they're just entering in a field and, a PM system, they're going to love what they see with that. So those are two really, cool wins. And then accounts payable automation. Even if it's just very simple, no more double data entry on the invoicing side, starting small with just AP, maybe just departmentally, and then interdepartmentally with approvals, using our mobile app or what have you.
Yeah.
Those are really kind of three ways: WIP and revenue forecasting. If you're, kind of a daredevil or the president of the company, you could say project forecasting to WIP and revenue forecast.
Right.
And then finally, kind of a low stakes, low risk one that saves you a ton of time. AP automation.
Yeah, we just published a case study today, actually, Excel out of California. I mean, they went from 25, 30 hours a month to 2 hours a month on the AP. I mean, they're talking using the ROI term.
Yeah.
That's something we absolutely see a lot of. Okay, great question, Casey. Another one here. What order of magnitude of records or transactions are typically needed to train a bot learning new workflow? Great question.
Yeah, it is great. So the question, just to paraphrase, is how much training does there need to be? How much data does there need to be? Because we are, this isn't ChatGPT. We're not learning across companies. It's like your company. We built our machine learning models. It's called Brick Assist. There's humans in the loop. On what I call small data. It's very small data. Teaching an AP invoice that, Iron Mountain invoices are different than, Ferguson invoices. That Brick Assist person might reallocate. Oh, a PO number on this invoice means job number, but a job number on this invoice means job number. Right. So like those are kind of the differences, or it's translating a Spanish invoice to an English invoice. Those are types of work that people are doing. You don't need millions. You need dozens. Right. And, because we're not trying to build a ChatGPT for the universe, we're just trying to automate a company. It's a smaller data set. However, on the other side of that coin, predictive analytics is where things get more fun.
Yeah.
again, still smaller data sets. Like if you think about the size of the ChatGPT database, it's billions of records.
Yeah.
300 projects, 400 projects will give you a very good starting point for what we call time travel.
Yeah.
And that's projects as small as 10 million up to a billion, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's something around that causes some strife, though. It's around what we call features in this business, but you'll call the project categorization, like delivery method, location, type of owner, type of client, what percent self-performed work, was this a subguard job, what have you. Those features are usually hidden in like some CRM system or an Excel or in a Word document. So that's really where the heavy lifting comes to teach.
And that was that was the example I used. We built some of these models and, for a large GC, and one of the features, one of the things you need is start and end dates.
Yeah.
And we were trying to predict, okay, how long might this job take based on like jobs? And we actually couldn't build the model because they never closed the jobs in the accounting system.
90% of the companies don't have start and end dates.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and they're great.
So it's less actually about the number of transactions and more about the quality of the transactions in terms of their data sets.
And Ben asked a great question. Can you mine the database? Yeah, our bots read databases. So it's great. The bots will read the database. They'll consume everything. We have companies that have brought in data from, 1970s. They had a Wang computers hanging out on the side that had a bunch of data, and that's a big win.
Yeah, 100%. Another great question from Mark here. Thanks for that, Ben. As a small developer in a small town, how do you believe this automation could help us? We share multiple hats, and I see this helping down the road. But how big do we really need to be to get the benefits of this?
We have clients as small as 15 million. You're a small, in a small town means a small employee base. If you don't like vacations or a quality of life, then don't do any automation.
Yeah.
You have more to lose. In our top 100 company can throw bodies at problems and have one mistake and not cost them their business.
Right.
One of these big AECOM, whatever, can go out there and screw up their general conditions forecast 3 months in a row and just go, oh, our bad. We'll eat it on the next project. You have a small employee base, small client base, and you're wearing multiple hats. Things get a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
And one mistake isn't, hey, I've just lost some money or my bonus went down 5%. One mistake is the company.
Yeah.
And if you're not automating today, your company, I'm telling you, your competition is automating today.
Yeah.
They are. We have hundreds of clients.
Yeah.
As small as 10 million a year in volume. 50 employees, 30 employees, including field workers. Those are our smallest clients. It's a lot cheaper for you. And you set the foundation for a great company today, especially if you're growing.
Yeah.
So, the best clients go in and crawl, walk, run, find small things to get started. Everybody has waste. Find where yours is and target it.
Yeah, I'd certainly start with, look at that departmental, I know there is no light between departments and an inter-department in some cases. But maybe not start with the predictive analytics side and the data mining, but automating these tasks. And you would be surprised how inexpensive these bots are, right?
Yeah, even AR bot, like an AR bot, like helping you consolidate a pencil copy for an owner. Even if you're going to continue to use Excel as a small company because you're on QuickBooks, hours a week. The biggest thing isn't just the hours, though. It's the accuracy of that data.
Yeah.
Because you're not fat figuring anything. You're not doing Control-C, Control-V. Your eyes are all blurry. It's doing it. It always does it right, and does it fast.
Yeah.
So if you think about that, there's going to be less time where one of these owners or GCs say, no, this is wrong. So that makes your money faster. That is this golden thread of automation. We're one of the fastest growing construction startups ever, right? It's a great story.
Yeah.
It is a great story. And the reason why is automation touches everything you do. We started with forecasting automation, then AP, now AR, now people, and project management. There are millions of touch points, millions of records that go astray across a company the size of 20 million or 2 billion that cause fee erosion, profit erosion, that cause planning issues, delivery issues, employee satisfaction issues, and people hour issues. And they're there. And that's one of the reasons why this is not the domain. Quite frankly, the biggest companies want to build everything custom. And they're always like, they only have their own ideas. I love what we call the fat middle in construction. It's the $10 to $250 million GC or $10 to $100 million subcontractor. Tens of thousands of them out there that need help.
Yeah, 100%. Well, look, thank you all so much for the time today. Really appreciate everyone when tuning in and staying a little bit late with us here. We love this topic. Stay tuned. We have more coming up. Massive thanks for joining us today. And we hope to see you all in the next one.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.